Welcome. I'm Lance Pederson with Verivest. Today I have with me Sean Parsons with Parsons Villas. How you doing, Sean?
Doing well.
Good. Thanks for joining us today. So why don't you share a little bit with us about how you got into the real estate business?
I was born into it. So literally learning every day at the dinner table. As a kid, I worked on my dad's construction sites. He was a custom home builder. 400 acres. He had a thousand custom homes and just learning every way I could. Conversations, asking questions, doing grunt work, just always around it. Our family's been in it for three generations. So it's just something that was natural.
So you guys started in, was this you're from Illinois originally?
Yes.
And then you guys
Suburbs, Illinois, that we're born in, and my dad was born in Vermont. But yes, started in Illinois.
Yeah. So how did you guys make it down to Arizona?
Oh, it's warm. So after the last downturn in 2009, my dad and I reset and we're like, all right, if we're going to start anywhere else, I want to have board shorts on and let's go do it somewhere where it's warm. So we checked out Tampa and we checked out the Arizona market, and everything was favored in the Arizona market. So we literally went back to basics, and that's when I started flipping homes. Did about 25 in the Scottsdale Kierland North Quarter and sold them all cash until one of the Canadian cash buyers said, I'm tired of paying $25,000 a month to rent these places. So that really piqued my interest in the vacation rental market.
So you guys got into the vacation rental, kind of the short-term vacation rental space pretty early on, didn't you?
Yeah, so we're actually the forefront of it. When I do anything, I dive all the way in. So we left 3 homes, furnished them. We're the first ones to actually renovate homes for the vacation rental space. It was very, in its adolescent stages before Airbnb even existed, or it was just getting started in the background. But we got in the first phase of it, and then we became friends with Barry Goldwater, and we're instrumental in actually legalizing it with the Goldwater Institute in Arizona, where we're still extending a lot of our lobbying efforts, and we're kind of the leaders in this space out here.
So what was the deal before? Is that you'd have to rent? It was kind of at a month at a time or something, or how did it used to work?
It did. Literally, it's the Wild West. There was no rules to it. So people weren't paying taxes. I mean, there was no uniformity to it. So that's where it started getting regulated. That's when we started working with Ducey. That's where, we have team members in Barry that are always in their offices. We sit in the state treasurer's office. We sit with all the mayors. We're always being asked on how to kind of design and handle this position.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of like your strategy, I know it's a bit different than sort of just your mom and pop, short-term vacation rental owner. So can you share a little bit about kind of how you kind of stumbled onto the fact that, the more bedrooms you had and in the higher end, where that, was sort of a differentiator?
Well, the biggest thing is when we started getting into it, I was in the 5-bedroom space, and that's where we found out was the perfect return on investment for the size of families and the amount of guests, and 5-bedroom, 3 bathrooms in the Kierland area. But we were the first renovated homes. Then everyone kind of chased that market. So our returns were phenomenal, and we realized that we had to level up to stay in our niche where people couldn't afford or people couldn't get into that space. And then it led into more opportunity.
And then in terms of like the, sourcing sort of those larger, I guess they could be called kind of like mansion type homes, finding, so when you're looking at the available, options in the market, I mean, what's sort of your strategy on, what's an ideal sort of fit when you're out there, looking at what is available in the market?
Well, naturally, as we progressed and we started becoming the homes that we manage and what we go for, we're less than 1% of the competition in the market. That's for the rentals. So on the rental space, when you get 6 bedrooms plus, there's a lot that comes with it. One, you get the acreage, so you're not bothering the neighbors, and it's a lot easier to have privacy and be in the community. But you also attract all the luxury tenants that were staying in there. So like the high profile executives, athletes that fly in their private jets. But then you also get 3 generations of family coming there. Mm-hmm. So they will drive up in their Winnebagos. So, out of our 25 homes, literally there's probably another 30 that compete with us in the style and really what they are. And there's 9,800 units now. So on the acquisition side, in the $2 million market, we are the only investor. So it's either an end buyer or it's us. And everything is perfectly 10 years dated, 20 years dated. And we come in there and we clean it and we put in all the smart home technology. We furnish it properly. It's all the guys where it's their 3rd, 4th, 5th home. They bought it for their girlfriend, or they got divorced, an estate sale, and they don't care about the furnishing. They overbuilt it. They put their car lifts in there. They just don't care about it. They all own it in cash and move on. So it presents a lot of opportunity for us to not only acquire it, like below rebuild cost, but it's an amazing opportunity for the management side too.
Yeah. And if you could speak to a little bit to just the sorts of upgrades that you do make when you get a hold of a property, like how you look at these properties and what it is that the vacationers are kind of looking for.
Well, it's different for every home. We look for a unique product. So there's got to be something that differentiates. We're looking for that $1 million money shot, that photo that you take a certain angle and it could be a matter of making an extra $50,000 to $100,000 just from that photo. But there's a uniqueness. They want a unique style and state. You can't completely modernize a house because it'll be dated in 5 to 10 years. So every house has its own theme. And then, for instance, one of the things we can take advantage of is we have this beautiful Valley Vista house. It has different step levels, and it was built by the general contractor of the Tapatio hotels. And when you're trying to sell a home on an exit, some people like, 1-level floor, especially out in Arizona. So we need to take advantage of those different steps, depreciating the value of the home. But it's, that house is 40, 50 years dated, but it's authentic. Mm-hmm. So it's got a great style to it. So you're not always just demoing and renovating a house completely. And you got to make sure it's timeless and it kind of ages with the theme. But you really got to kind of feel it. We work with the designers. I've designed all my homes. I've done all the construction on the homes. I've managed all the general contractors. So it's just, you got to go with what the feel of the home is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And so what is it that you really like about that? I mean, specifically, you're in that Scottsdale market, that sub-market. So what is it that about, all of the moving parts kind of down there that make this just tailor-made for sort of the short-term vacation rental strategy?
Everything. So as a first market to start, obviously I've been out here for 12 years. So I was flipping homes for the first half of it, and then I've been turning them into vacation rentals the second half, and the returns are phenomenal. Mm-hmm. But I was checking out Tampa and I was checking out Scottsdale at the same time. Tampa has the flood insurance. It has a lot more wear and tear from the salt and the ocean. There's just different avenues, and then there's different variables. But hurricanes, like who knows what's going to happen if a hurricane comes and wipes you out. Mm-hmm. Arizona, there are no natural disasters. I mean, there's a haboob, but it takes everything with it. So the sand comes through, you get behind a wall, and then it takes everything with it. It might leave some cicadas behind or something, but you'll be fine. And we've left a lot of sites where the walls are open and they're untouched. But that's on the just the housing acquisition side, where the taxes are low. It's favorable. Again, it's the Wild West. There's one rule: don't break it. Mm-hmm. And it really fits. The labor is cheap. They work hard. it's very favorable. Then if you get into all the events, you're dealing with one major city. So in Florida, if you go down there, it's like, are you going to go in Miami? Are you going to go in Tampa? Are you going to go to Palm Springs? Where are you going to manage it? It's not favorable to vacation rentals. We got it legalized statewide in Arizona. So then you go add all the events. We've had Super Bowls, the Phoenix Open, Barrett Jackson, Arabian Horse Show, and then don't forget about spring training. Yeah. So we have them all in one bowl, and they're all coming to us.
Yeah, and even like in the summertime where it's pretty hot and stuff, do you still see? I mean, people are still finding their way to that area, or is that?
Well, let's talk about that, Lance. So, during COVID, we lost about $500,000 in cancellations, and since 2019, we're 120% home comparison to home comparison year to date currently. So after the loss, we're still 120% higher. Mm-hmm. So yes, they're coming here in the summer. We've got some crazy Europeans that like coming out here. We have some crazy Canadians that like the heat. Mm-hmm. And then now it's exploding with, it's becoming Miami of the West. The population's growing. The airports are getting flooded. There's a lot of people coming and driving from California, from Texas, from Colorado. So it's becoming more and more of a popular destination. Just like you can go in Vegas in the summer, you're going to pool parties. They're doing the same thing out here.
Yep. Oh, that's great. Yeah, it didn't used to be the case from what I understand.
No, not at all.
Yeah. It's become kind of a destination market. So for you, when you are kind of assessing, to buy property or not, I mean, what is sort of the number one, thing that you're looking at? I mean, like your overarching sort of investment philosophy, like what's going to be kind of that deal, like make or no break sort of on making the acquisition?
Well, there's a couple of things. One, it's, we go back to the original fundamentals. We only invest in shelter, but buy it right, period. So we only invest in shelter, location, and it's what you pay for it. So I'm, after being basically raised in a 2009 downturn, I learned a lot of fundamentals. So I am very risk adverse. So, when you go through this, I got to make sure that the property is purchased, where it needs to be so I can exit at any time. Mm-hmm. Then I force appreciation on it. And then after that, I'm looking for very unique characteristics. Why does my property stand out compared to everyone else? And if not, where are the flaws so I can do what I need to do to make it an exceptional property?
Yep. No, that's great. So, I mean, in terms of like your team and, obviously, because you guys are at the end of the day, sort of, you have to deliver great customer service. You're a property management firm, you got a brand, you're consumer facing. Who are the kind of the key players on your team that help kind of make it all go around?
Well, on the fund side and the investment principal side, obviously my dad, who's been my mentor. We have Barry Goldwater Jr., who's another mentor of mine in Arizona. Mm-hmm. And then his 35-year closest friend, who's also our in-house counsel, Ken Pinkert. So those are our advisors. That's my voice of reason. Those are the people I bounce everything off, and they are, heavily involved with experience in the community.
And then in terms of like the day-to-day and, the running the properties and, do you have I'm assuming you got kind of to get the bookings and to make sure you turn the properties and, that the guests are delighted. I mean, are there, who are the people that make that go around for you?
So that's our management team, and that's phenomenal. So like what I did is you got to build the foundation right. So when we invested heavily in staff and marketing and SEO to get it going, as far as the management side, because I wanted all the right cast of characters. So Dawn Banks does all our sales and concierge, and she's a 20-year veteran of the Phoenician, which is a very famous hotel out here. We have Mary Gopral, that was basically started this with me 7 years ago from my first flips. We have Tanner Colvin, who is our CEO, and he managed 280 homes in Key West for Vicasa. I've known him for 7 years since we've been going down there. Tim Scarpino is basically my right-hand man and business developer, and he's works closely with Barry Goldwater, and he is oversight on the overall picture of everything. Brings a lot to the table, and very involved in the community. Who else? Oh, and then of course I have Nicole, who came from our Streamline software system, and she was the head of account management over there. So she is involved in all the software and the accounting. And then I have a couple other maintenance guys, Sean Spratt that I grew up with, and then William, he's certified in basically everything you can mechanically. So after that, we have subs and just phenomenal group of people.
Yeah. So because there's all those from acquiring the properties to getting them ready to be rented, and then turning them over and making sure the guests are happy, and not to mention making sure your properties are found in the listings, and all those things. It's definitely a lot of moving parts, and it's great. It's great to hear about the team and the strategy. So thanks for your time, Sean. Have a great day.